Okay, when we talk about Yayin nesech, which is our new topic, the best introduction to this topic I found is the Ben Ish Hai. The Ben Ish Hai has a really nice intro to this topic in Parashat Balak. I'm going to read it to you. He says here how Matovu Alecha Yaakov Mishkanotecha Yisrael, says the Ben Ish Hai, how special the Jewish neshama is, how special the Jewish family is, and it says Ka'arazim alemayim, the Jewish people, we are like cedar trees in the water. Shem kiruvim el mekom hayutam udbikimbo. We are close to the source of our shefa. Ken Israel, so too the Jewish nation. Hem debekim b'mkom kedusha. We are connected to the holy source. Asher lemala, which is above us. Shehu hayutam, which gives us life force. V'chol echad ve'echad yizamayim medaliyav. These are all Bilam's words in Parashat Balak. Yizamayim medaliyav. It's flowing water. It's pouring water from the bucket. Kilomad. As if to say, Izal lo shefa mishosho shelamala, Hashem pours us the shefa and blessing from this big bucket of blessing above us. Shu hadeli hamerik lomayim hayim ve'ashefa kadosh, which is this bucket that pours to us blessing. Says the Ben Ish Hai. V'lachem, therefore, hechmiru rabotenu zal b'isus stam yenav shel goyim. The rabbis were very strict when it came to the laws of wine of goyim. Or if they touch our wine. And it says the Ben Ish Hai, it's stricter than all the other rabbinic isurim. Someone who drinks stam yanam, which we'll talk about all these things, what it means. Or wine that they touched. Says the Ben Ish Hai. Someone who violates this, he cuts off his source of the blessing from the top. And you really lose a lot of goodness. So it's very serious, this wine situation. The rabbis knew this, and that's why they made this decree. And I'll tell you exactly in a second what it is. And if someone violates these laws, God forbid, his neshama is not able to shine from the light of the Ora Elyon, the light above, which is considered like wine that was carefully preserved from the creation. With this, we can understand Hatam shegezera dos stam yenam hayta bechal shemuna asa devarim shegazu be'aliyat ha'anyan ben Hizkiah ben Gurion. In Masechet Shabbat, it says that all the rabbis one day they went up to the attic of They went up to the attic of Rabbi Hananiah ben Hizkiah. They all went up to his attic, and they said, "We're not leaving here until we decide all these disputes that we had." And they settled on 18 settlements. This is like one of the most important rabbinic days probably ever. And this is one of the 18. Yayin nesech. Says the Ben Ish Hai, if Shad hi hayta ha harona, Yayin nesech was the last one, we think. The Gemara doesn't say which one is first and last. This is probably the last one. And this sheishlima ha-hai, because it's your life. Keeping the laws of drinking wine it could be a great thing, it could be a terrible thing. It's a kosher beracha, or the opposite, God forbid. So if we do it the right way, it's high, it's our life. Someone who keeps this gezerah, high nikra, he's called living. He's connected to the holiness above and not cut off. Yayin, therefore, it says in Yayin is 10, 10, and 50, which is 70. Imaotiot with 1 is 71. Haoleh mispat ha'chaim, the life, says in Hai. Does it check out? I don't know if it checks out. So. By the way, Azak wrote to Yariv for sponsoring this shiur in the zichut of Itai. We all love Itai. Itai should have atzlacha in Israel. He should grow physically and spiritually and come back better than you sent him, Yariv. He's a good boy. Now, said the Ben Ish Hai, HaTorah lo asra el yayin nesech shenitnasech la'avodah zarah. What's forbidden from the Torah? Yayin nesech shenitnasech la'avodah zarah, like an actual wine libation that they poured on their idol. It used to be they would pour wine libations when they served the idol. that exact wine from the idol or from the bottle or from the cup that they poured, that's asut from the Torah. From the Torah. And you cannot drink it or have any benefit from the wine. You can't sell it, you can't feed your pets with it, nothing. From that exact wine that was actually used, let's call it a church for now. We'll see what the registration is. Yeah, it was this is, remember the whole wig situation remember the whole wig scandal a few years ago where they said the wigs, the Indians. Yeah, remember that whole thing? Yeah, it was the whole thing. Don't wear any wigs because the wig. Yeah, I was going to say something, but not Indian wigs, but the Chinese wigs. The what's rabbinic, and the Gemara I'll show you is going to explain what's rabbinic. The rabbinic is afilu stam yayin shel stam yayin, any wine from the guy. I don't know what he. Now the thing is, huh? Uh, uh, yeah, Rabbanan, the Rabbanan. That's the reason. It's right. It's stam yanam is because of hatnut. Yeah, but with the Gemara will do everything he's saying. The Gemara is going to say now. But this means what? You go to the neighbor's house and he has wine on the shelf. There's no idol. Idols didn't say the church. But if a goy even thinks this wine is going to be for the Avodah Zarah, that would make it Yayin nesech because the mahshavah works for it. And so since you don't know what he's thinking, all of his wine is going to be, it's a double thing. Ask which one is it? Hatnut or nesech? All the wine, the rabbi said, all the wine is not allowed. It's called stam ina. Yeah, stam means that's why that's going to be, eventually we'll say if the goy comes to your house and picks up your bottle, maybe he thought he's going to do that with your wine too. Oh, I'm going to take some.
Is the original prohibition for wine actually used?
Yeah.
Wine is intended to be
Both. Yeah. So we're going to talk about this in a second, actually. So again, the Ben Ish Chai has a very nice intro. So the rabbis added stam yinam shel goyim. Stam yain. Stam means any, right? Any wine of the goy is forbidden rabbinically. Vegam astum maga'an b'yayin shelano. And the third thing they said is the goy cannot even touch our wine. We're going to have to define what touch means after. But we'll just go with touch now. Hen b'shtiyah, hen mehana'ah. And if this happens, you can't even drink it or sell it or do anything. Spill it on the floor. And has the same halakha for all these things. Rabbinically, has the same halakha for all these things. Now, for Yaakov. Says the Ben Ish Chai. We're going to say later in the Gemara, it's not because of idol worship the rabbis added this. It's because the rabbis don't want you drinking with the neighbor. And then they're going to say, oh, your daughter's so sweet. Oh, what a nice sister you have. And you're going to start marrying each other because you're going to be drunk with the neighbor. Huh? Yeah, very good. And so we're gonna have to define the drinks. The Gemara will define the drinks. Because drinking is hanging out. And so if we say you can't go to the bar with your buddies, you have to go to the bar with these buddies, it's gonna be like that's it. There's a line drawn. What is the neighbor gonna say when he says, hey, come to the bar, come drink in my house? I'm sorry, I can't come over. Why not? Actually, someone asked me in shul last week this question. He says, a goy asked me, can I drink with him? And I said no, and he said, why? I said, yeah, that's the point. The whole point is to tell him the reason why.
Well, go to the bar and have this cocktail with your boyfriend.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, the guy you're sitting with, though, maybe. But the whole point is at least you can say, there's a line I draw. I can't do this. I'm not allowed to hang out with you this much. There's a line we draw as Yehudim. Yeah. Yeah, it is. So says the Ben Ish Chai, which one is it? Is it because of hatnut or is it because Yayin nesech? Hatnut means marriage. And zehu ikaratam. The Ben Ish Chai says the hatnut is not the real reason you should know that you're going to marry their daughter. That's not the real reason. Elahema ra'u b'ruach kodsham ta'am is the Ben Ish Chai talking. You know what he's going to talk about. Ta'am sod nistad v'ne'elam bi'isur zeh v'gazru alav. The rabbis saw a very mystical and powerful reason for this. They don't tell you the mystical reason. They tell you a regular reason. They say something you can understand. Hatnut. But even if the hatnut doesn't apply, it's the deeper reason that they didn't tell you still applies. Says the Ben Ish Hai, therefore, if it's never going to happen, you're never going to marry. There's no daughter. There's no sister. You have a tribe. You meet a tribe in the jungle. Only men. But I'm not nobody to marry. Well, these days. Yeah. Anyway, right? Says it means hi. Lloyd patil ta'ama sodi ad olam. The mystical reason is never absolved. We just don't know what it is. You have to keep it. Aken isurize en lo heter le'olam. Says it means hi. This enactment is never going to be allowed. Bishum zeman u bishum makom. No matter the time and no matter the place. Very strong. Be'onesh ha'aver azeh. And the punishment for someone who breaks this, says Rabbi Shai, gadol me'od, is very big. Like I said before, you're tearing your soul from the source of blessing above. God forbid. The Zohar says in Parashat Shemini, and he says, there's a special sefer written only about this. Actually, I want to get this sefer. I don't have it. Yayin, I don't have it. And if you read it, the hair on your hair is going to stand from what it says. Now I really got to get the book. Yeah. The Nahash, yeah. And it's funny because Nahash is going to be very linked. Yeah, it was grapes, but the Nahash, funny because Nahash we're going to talk about also. Nahash is, we'll talk about it in a second. And anyway, he says he goes on and on and on. And so therefore, I'll keep the second half for later. We're going to have to define what type of drinks that we're talking about, what type of goyim, atheists, Christians, Muslims, Jews are not religious. What are we talking about here? And so we'll have to say that for them. So let's Yayin nesech. That's actually nisuch is Rabbanan. Yeah. Right. Unless you go to a place where they do it. Yeah. I don't think anybody does it. But in churches, can't do it. But in the churches, I know they have a set. They do something with wine. What do they do?
Yeah, they drink it.
It's the blood. So the blood of Yeshu, right? And the wafers is the flesh. That's why my pool man told me candy cane came from. That's what he told me. He's a Christian guy. The red and the white candy cane is the flesh and the blood. That crazy. He told me. He's good. I'm sure there's Yossi's over there that I like. Okay, so we're gonna have to define all these things. Let's jump into it. But before I'm gonna read you a piece of the Mishnah. It's a giant Mishnah. The Mishnah says, "Elo devarim shelo avdei asurim." Avodah zarah. Yeah, Avodah zarah, page 29b. These are the following things from goyim that it's not allowed. The isuran isur hana'ah, and you're not allowed to even benefit. Can't sell it, can't trade it, can't do nothing with it. Yayin, the wine. Even vinegar, which comes from wine. Yayin, which was wine before. And then it says other things. I'll read you like a few of them, but I can't read this. Mishnah is gigantic. So I'll read you a few more things, and hopefully down the road we can do it. The Heres Hadiriani and Hadrianic earthenware, all sorts of things they did for Avodah Zarah. Orot the Buvin, heart-pierced skins. The Gemara later will say that if you see an animal skin with like a hole in the middle, it looks like someone stuck their hand in because they had a ritual when they used to serve the idol. They would rip their hand, they would cut the skin of the animal while it's alive, stick in, rip out the heart while it was alive, and serve it to their idol. And so they said, humans?
The Aztecs, you ever see the South America? It was open.
I know. So that's what it's talking about. If you see a skin, so the Gemara would say, if you see a skin for sale, nice piece of leather, is the cut circle? Is the cut like a certain way they'll cut it? If it was done like this, you can't use it. It's for either all these
They
things.
probably use wine but that's nobody have like 20 gods.
You have so many tribes and all these things.
All different gods.
I just don't know what to do. And that's why the Gemara says here, the Mishnah says here, huh? You know? I don't know. The Mashiach says, Bisman says what I just told you. If the incision is round, it's okay because when they didn't cut it round, nice and neat. But if it's elongated, if they cut it like this, that means that you got a skin that was someone's ripped this. So different things for avodah zarah. We'll have to do all these things another time because this Mishnah is like more than half a page of the Gemara. Let's skip to the Gemara explaining the wine so we can jump into it. Yayin minalam. How do you know that you cannot drink or sell wine from avodah zarah? So the Gemara Amar Baba Rabu Amakira Asher Helev Zebahemo Yochelu Yushtu Yenisicham Perashat Ha'azinu. Perashat Ha'azinu. On the end of the Torah. Asher Helev Zebahemo Yochelu. He's talking about the idol worshippers. They drink the fat of the offerings they eat. Yishtu yen nesicham, and they drink all these wines of libations. So it says zebahemo and the wine, the sacrifice of to the idol, and the wine in the same pasuk. Just like you can't eat a sacrifice that was sacrificed, an animal that was sacrificed to a avodah zarah, so too the nisuch, the wine also that they poured, you cannot. And then it says zebah upeminal. How do you know you cannot eat the sacrifice for the avodah zarah? How do you know this? Dichtiv. There's going to be next week's parasha. It's a Tehillim, but it's a story of the next week's parasha. They were all by Ba'al Peor and they ate the Zibhei Metim, the sacrifices of dead people, which is avodah zarah. Ma met, but it calls it dead. Ma met asur b'hana'ah, just like a dead person's asur b'hana'ah. You're not allowed to sell or get any benefit from a dead person. So too, a sacrifice to an idol, you can't also. The Shechita, okay. The Shechita, Chabad Shechita. Umet gufa minal. How do you know that a dead body you can't have hana'ah from? And so it's actually going to be from this week's parasha. Atya sham igla arufa. By the igla arufa, which is the donkey that they cracked because there was a dead person, nobody knew who killed it. It says sham, they would do the ba'arifu sham et igla. They crack it over there. And in this week's parasha, hukat on Shabbat, we're going to say vatamot sham Miriam. Miriam dies this week, and Aharon dies this week in the parasha. Vatamot sham Miriam. Miriam died there. Sham. Yeah, by the igla arufa, it says the word sham, by a dead thing. And so it says the Gemara, just like over there, the calf, they can't have hana'ah, so to Minyam, who is dead, he can't have hana'ah. So it's a bunch of Gizdah Shabbat the Gemara learns. Regardless, we learn that you cannot have benefit from wine that was a libation. Now, the Gemara says, I'm going to skip a little bit to the point that's going to really be important here. It's all important, but Amar bi ila'ah. Shanino, we learned. Yayin mevushal shelovdei kochavim. Cooked wine, pasteurized wine, which is most of the wine on the shelves these days, right? Pasteurized cooked wine, yayin mevushal, of the goy. Shayam mitihilato yayin, that was originally wine, and then they cooked it. It wasn't grapes, and then they pasteurized it during the process of making it wine. It was wine. And then they pasteurized it, asur, it's still asur. It can't take it out of its previously forbidden state when it was non-mevushal wine. Pashita, of course it's pashita. It's obvious that it's asur. Well, because if I had wine that was not cooked and it's asur, and I say, no, it's okay, just put it on the stove for a few minutes and then it's going to be allowed. You can't do that. Just because you cooked it, you can't remove the forbidden status from it. The Gemara says, Amar Abashi, has come to teach us, Yayin mevushal shelanu. It really is talking about not goyish wine, Jewish wine. Yayin mevushal shelanu, Jewish cooked pasteurized wine. Biyad akum, that a goy has. Let's say you ask the goy to watch your stuff. You drop off the wine, or your messenger, or the worker, or whatever. Delivery man has your cooked wine. And tzarich hotam betov hotam. You don't have to have a seal and another seal and make sure he doesn't. It's kosher because it's cooked. If it's cooked, it doesn't have these laws, which we're going to open this discussion up. If you're afraid that maybe the goy is gonna say, "Oh, this wine's good. I'm gonna get this wine one day and make a libation to my idol with it." That's the whole, like I said, that's the whole hashash with yayin, with your wine. Lo min nasechi. They don't use cooked wine for idol worship. It's not done, as she says. Lo min nasechi. Nobody does this. So it wasn't a practice. There was no idol worshiping sect that would take pasteurized wine. No, we're not using it in our church. Only non-mivushal wine. And in the olden days, most of the good wine was non-mivushal. It wasn't like now, where you have mivushal wine everywhere. The whole store, the whole Cambridge is mivushal wine. It still tastes delicious. It wasn't like that in those days. The mivushal wine was way inferior. Even today, it's inferior. The most expensive wines are not mivushal, but still the mivushal wines are delicious. In those days, like, nah, it's mivushal. You cook the wine. What am I, a child? The grape juice? It's not good for the. And so it says the Gemara, no one's going to use it for idol worship. And so if your wine is cooked, don't worry. The goy is not going to touch it. He's not going to use it. It's, no, it wasn't a common thing. It deteriorates. It deteriorates the taste of the wine, and so therefore, they're not going to use it. It tames it for sure. It tames it. There's a few she taught. I wrote down the Rashba. The Ritva says there's a few she taught I read here. The Rashba, why they did it is a good question. If it damages the wine, why would they do it? I don't remember exactly why they would do it. I don't know. It's a chat GPT question. Why would you do Yayin? Why would you? What is the benefits of pasteurizing the wine? You want to put it in there? Then why do they do it? Only Jews? Is there non-Jewish pasteurized wine?
You think they Jews do it because of the century?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So why would someone do it? Maybe there was a wine. Yeah, there's the Gemara says say later. There's different types of wine. A cooked wine. One is very, very sweet, so sweet, like too sweet. But maybe he's onto it. Maybe the wine starts going bad. You don't want it to age anymore. Maybe you don't want it to ferment anymore. Yeah, it stops it because what was the guy's name? Pasture. What was the guy's name? Louis Pasteur. Because some wine is not meant to age. Some wines, not all wines are good aged. A lot of wine. I mean, I love wine. I have a lot of wine in my. Right. Yeah. Let's see what he says.
Most typically wines are not pasteurized, and it says benefit of it has tension. In production of charcoal wine, pasteurization is religious requirement. Wine is heated, often using glass pasteurization to render it fit for consumption by the different. 8 minutes later, handled by not.
So
this came up as to why.
So it's not a goyish thing.
It's not a goyish.
Wow, that's crazy, huh? It's not. Oh, we'll talk about this. We're lenient on this, but we'll talk about it. Yeah. We'll go, all this, but Lena did. We'll talk about it all.
I mean, there are some that do it, but mostly it's not.
Okay, so there you go. And so the Gemara says no one's going to use it. Now, I did write down the three pshatim that I saw. The Ritva and the Rosh writes mivushal lo shchichi. You almost can't find it. The Ritva writes mivushal lo shchichi. You can't find a cooked wine. It's just not something. So when the rabbis made this decree, they didn't even have in mind cooked wine. It's not wine. It's like grape juice. That's the Ritva writes, and the Rashba writes lo nikra yayin. Lo nikra yayin. The Rashba. Yeah, maybe. It's not wine, the Rashba. It's not wine. And so when they made the gezerah, it's not part of it. You should not use it because it's more hashuv. I mean, I know I consider myself. I collect a lot of wine in my house. The non-mivushals are much more expensive, for sure. Much more expensive. Non-mivushal. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now the Gemara says, if you're afraid that the guy's going to exchange it, you tell the goy, hey, go bring my wine to Ezra. And so What are you afraid of? It's cooked wine. He's not going to say, "Oh, I'm going to want this wine for my idol." Maybe he's going to say, "Oh, I want this wine for me, and I'm going to switch it and give him the not kosher wine from my house." He's not going to do that either. As long as there's one seal, he's not going to bother for Yayin Mugushal. He's not going to bother it. He's going to deliver it the wine as is. Ezra can drink it when he gets it. Now, he's not going to bother to forge the seal. Now, the Gemara says further. Rabba v'Rabbi Yosef the Amni Tarvahu. Rabba and Rabbi Yosef say, Yayin mazug, wine that is diluted with water, and Rashi holds a lot of water. Rashi says 2/3 water. A lot of water. Yayin mazug. Not everyone, the Gemara later will say how much water we're talking. Yayin, that is wine that is diluted, en bo mishum gilui. Doesn't have the law of gilui, of being revealed, of being open, which is, this topic is going to take over the next whole daf of the Gemara about mashkin migulin, liquids that are left out. Can you drink liquids that are left out? Exactly. That's why I said nahash. Maybe it has something to do with sod. If I leave my drink like this, can I go leave it, come back in 2 hours and drink it? If I leave it overnight, or you ever hear this thing? Don't drink stuff that was overnight. That's so says the Rabba and Rabbi Yosef. Wine that is diluted with water, don't worry about it if it's left overnight. No problem. Leave it overnight, leave it out. You can come back and drink it because it's diluted. We'll see in a second. And he says further, Yayin vushal en bo mishum nisuch. If it's cooked wine, then there's no problem of nisuch, of a goy touching it. No problem. It's cooked. Same thing like we just said. The Gemara says, Yayin vushal yesh bo mishum gilui, or en bo mishum gilui. What about cooked wine? Can I take my cooked wine? You said diluted wine with water, I can leave out. Can I leave out my pasteurized wine, my yayin mevushal? Can I leave that out and drink it with no problem later? Tashema, we said, yayin mevushal also has no problem about leaving it overnight or leaving it whatever. You can come back and drink it. It says to Yaakov bar Idi. Rabbi Yanai bar Ishmael halash. Now, the Gemara will say a lot of different stories about rabbis and people and leaving drinks out. It's going, like I said, it's going to take over the whole next page of the Gemara. What's the whole hashash? Like Yaakov said, the whole suspicion is that a snake might want to drink from the liquid and then inject some eros, venom, poison into it, God forbid, and then you don't want it, sakarat nefashot. And so this is the whole reason for this halacha custom about leaving liquids out. Maybe a snake got into it when you weren't looking. Marash Hanarutz will talk about exactly your question. Listen to the stories. Well, first of all, there's lots of stories here. Listen to these stories. He's saying liquids. Very good. The Gemara Holin talks about this. The Mishnah in Trumot talks about this. Timurot. It's a question what the liquids are. Remind me, we'll do it after. It's a question where there's different shitot here. So we'll get to that in a second. Rabbi Yanai bar Ishmael, right now we're talking about wine. Rabbi Yanai bar Ishmael halash. Rabbi Yanai bar Ishmael was on his deathbed. He was very sick. Oh, not deathbed, he was sick. And these rabbis came to visit him. And they were asking him, while he was on his bed in conversation with the rabbi, he was sick. They asked him, pasteurized wine, can I leave it out open? Or in bo mishum giloy? Amaleh, he said to them, Rabbi Ishmael ben Zerud, Haki Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish mishum gabran abba. Reish Lakish said the following halakha in the name of a great man. And who is the great man? Umanu Rabbi Hiya. Yayin mevushal and bo mishum giloy. Yayin that's mevushal, that's cooked, you can leave it out. And if you left it out, or you forgot to close it, you come back, you can continue to drink it. Amri le, they said, Nismoch, can we really rely on this? Mifashim are like, what are you asking? Nismoch, he just said Rabbi Hiya said he could do it. Nismoch, can we rely on it? Mifashim say, because it's a sakana nefashot. So shouldn't we be extra strict like this on sakana nefashot? Maybe there's poison and venom in it. Mahvi lehu Rabbi Yeranai bar Ishmael, he motioned to them like this, and he said, Alai ve'asavari, if anything happens to you, blame it on me. Nothing. Snakes don't like Mivushal one. It's gonna get weirder than this. Watch. Yeah, it's gonna get weirder than this. ChatGPT. Oh yeah, they love regular wine. You'll see.
That's sweet.
Not too sweet. They love good wine. Shemuel, but in all seriousness, I bet you there's a lot of Kabbalistic stuff here about the Nahash in the Garden of Eden feeding the grapes to. There's probably there's probably two levels. Shemuel ve'Ablet. Shemuel and Ablet. Ablet was Shemuel's friend. Ablet was not Jewish. There's a gemara on Shabbat that says Ablet. Maybe you remember this. Shemuel was sunbathing. In the Gemara on Shabbat says Shemuel was sitting in the sun, and Avlet, who was like a philosopher, he was a good boy, smart guy. He said, "What are you sitting in the sun's bad for you?" Just like people these days say, "The sun's bad for you. What are you sitting in the sun for?" He said, "No, the sun's not always bad for you. Sometimes the sun is good for you." Shemuel answered him. So Avlet was not Jewish. Huh? Vitamin D, or God forbid, skin cancer. Huh? Shemuel ve'Avlet havu yatbi. Shemuel and Avlet are sitting there. This story causes a whole ruckus in the poskim. You'll see why. Shemuel and Avlet are sitting together. Aitu lekamayhu hamra mivashela, and the waiter brings them cooked wine to drink. But Shemuel's drinking with the goy. He's drinking. Later on, we'll see. He's drinking with the goy. Mashchelide Avlet, who is a smart goy, he goes to the waiter and he said, "Oh, that's wine. No, I'm not touching it," because he knows if he touches it, Shemuel can't have any. He's smart. Yes. The waiter was Jewish. That's the later. That's one of the answers they give. It was a Jewish bar. Seriously. Mashkali did, so he pulls his hands away. Avlet, smart guy, pulls his hands away. Amala Shemuel says to him, "Buddy, no, it's pasteurized wine. Fada, drink." But he's a goy can't touch your wine. Yeah, that's the answer they give. That's the answer, because everyone later asks, "How is Shemuel drinking with a goy?" Must be the Jewish part. It's the only answer.
That's an oxymoron.
Israel?
Maybe
Must have been Israel. That's the answer they give. Must be a Jewish place. What else could it be an answer? Because we're going to see later there are poskim who hold you're not allowed to go drink in a goy's house, b'chlal, even kosher wine, even if he doesn't touch it. It's a whole thing we'll have to get to in a few weeks. So this is a proof from a story of Shemuel. So we see pasteurized wine, no problem if a goy touches it. Another story. Amted Rabbi Haya, the maid of Rabbi Haya, she was in the kitchen and she finds a bottle of pasteurized wine, of mivushal wine. She brings it to the boss first. Before I serve it to you, there's all goyim everywhere. I don't know if you can drink this. And he says to her, no. Yayin mivushal, it could be even open. Even if there was no cap on it, I'll drink it because it's perfectly fine. Another story. Shaarey the servant of Rabada bar Ahava, he found diluted wine with water, like I said, that she holds 2/3 water. It's mahloket. There's a wine, watered down wine. There's some people now that they dilute their wine by kiddush. They add 3 drops. I don't do it. My father used to do it. I don't do it. Yeah. Yeah. I don't do it personally. My dad used to. I don't do it. But but also these days they say it doesn't really apply. Okay. Anyway, what happened was the Yayin not mivushal, but the wine is different these days. There's what is it called? The sediments is not so strong like it used to be. Okay. Anyway, so that he finds diluted wine with water, so he brings it to the master. Amaleh. No, he says fine. It's diluted wine, no problem. Even if it was open, it's a kosher. Amara Papa says, Lo amanan, when we say diluted, we're talking about ila demazik tuba. It has to be a lot of dilution, a lot of water. Mazik v'lamazik shateh. But if it's only partially diluted, like that she would hold, it's not 2/3 water, the snake still drinks it. You got it, Ezra? So a snake won't drink it. He goes over to the barrel. He's like, water? No, I don't want to drink water.
How do you know those? How do you know those tasted?
I don't know. I don't
You
know.
know.
I don't know. So the snake wouldn't drink it unless it's very dilute, unless it's not dilute. If it's diluted a little bit, maybe the snake will drink it. Diluted a lot, he's not going to drink it. And now we're going to have a crazy story. Listen to the story. Umezig v'la mazig mishateh. Really? A snake will drink a partially diluted wine with a little bit of water. He'll still drink it? This is a wild story. Rabba and Abhuna are on a boat. And he had wine with him, a barrel of wine for the trip. He sees a snake that's slithering towards the wine. The snake wants the wine. Snakes love wine. ChatGPT. Snakes love wine. They like it?
Yeah.
He sees the snake approach. He sees the snake approaching the barrel. He says to the servant, "Quick! What should you do? Quick! What should you do? Dilute. Ruin the wine." So the snake doesn't want it. He only wants good wine. Shakil kalimaya. So the servant takes water and shadiba and he throws it inside the wine. Oh, now the snake's not going to want it because there's water in the wine. And the snake sees it and turns around and leaves. And so we see here that even a little bit of water, it renders the wine unfit for the snake to eat. So what do you have to tell me? It has to be 2/3 water, even a little bit of water. And so the Gemara answers, no. Really, a snake will drink wine with a little bit of water. In this situation, ahayam masad nafsheh, a snake will risk his life if there's a little bit of water. But amiziga lo masad nafsheh. If it's diluted, he's not going to risk his life. So if the wine is not diluted, he'll right in front of the person go and risk his life that the person might kill him. But he wants the undiluted wine. But if the wine is diluted, he's not going to risk his life. But if nobody was there, he would still go for it. That's the good one. Both snakes. Now, here's another story. Really? A snake wouldn't risk his life for wine with a little bit of water? He'll back away if there's wine with a little bit of water, he won't. This is even a crazier story. Rabbi Yanai was in the town of Be'achbore. Or maybe it was Bar Hedya and Be'achbore. I forget who it was. They were sitting and drinking diluted wine with water in it. What happened? They left wine in the barrel. There was still wine left over in the barrel. So a snake's going to come get it. So what do? Serunhi bifrunka. So they put a cloth on top of the barrel and they put like a rubber band around it or a tie. And so I covered it so the snake can't get into the wine anymore. What happened? They saw a snake come. Shakil maya verama bechuba. What did he do? He drank water and spit it into the tank. He took water and put it into the barrel because he knew he has to raise the level of the wine above the cloth. I don't know how the snake knows this. He put wine in the barrel to raise the level until the whole barrel was filled. And when the wine went over the cloth, he drank it. So you see the extent that snakes will go, even if there's a little bit of water. You think how much water did the snake pour? Just enough to float it up, and he still drank the wine. The Gemara says, no. Amriya, they say no. The mazik ihu shater. It's his water. He'll dilute it and drink it. It's his water. Your story, the snake brought the water. The maziga aharin elo shater. But if you diluted the water, he's not going to want to do it. There has to be deeper meanings here. There must be deeper meanings. Oh, yes, you got
it. This says that snake is compared to wine because they can both lead to doing evil. So,
Ah.
so it's more of metaphorical rather than.
You know what I'm thinking now also?
There's biological, there's no evidence of, or zoological of
This week's parasha is the snake on the
snake actually
the snake on the stick.
wine. So
And
it's
then think
more of
about
a metaphorical connection that wine could be good, but it could also.
Very
It
nice.
says milk and water also.
What, leaving open?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. Some people hold it's 5 liquids. Did it give a source who says that?
What, the wine part?
No, the snake. The snake is resembling.
Some things says it. It says that if you give up a man or wine, then they'll
Yeah, but the snake. Oh yeah. Ah, very nice.
So Bereshit Rabbah says the tree of knowledge is grapevine.
Yeah.
And the snake used wine and grapes empty.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and then let's see, but as mentioned,
Yeah.
That's what
This is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Very nice. Let me say the halakha here.
And yeah, there's more.
Hazak. Amana bashi v'item ala meshashia. They ask, perukna lesakanta. Are you giving me all sorts of answers when it comes to sakana nefashot? Dilute this, his water, my water. Sakana. You should just say, don't drink any of it ever. Gemara says, Amaraba, hilchata. What's the final halakha? Says the Gemara, Yayin mazug. If it's watered down wine, yesh bo mishum gilui. You cannot leave it uncovered. They changed the halakha because of the sakana. If it's watered down, yesh bo mizug, yesh bo mishum yayin nesech, and also a goy can't touch it. If there's water in the wine, he still can't touch it. Yayin mivushal, if it's pasteurized, and bo mishum gilui. You can leave it open, and the snake's not going to touch it. Pasteurized, the snake's not going to want it. The bo mishum yayin nesech, and the goy cannot render that asur also.
So goy can't touch.
A goy can touch it, but we have to see what this means. When it says he can't touch it, does it mean you can drink it or you can sell it? Is it allowed in hana'ah or even to drink it? So we're going to have to clarify this halakha next week.
So what's the prohibition? That's the one. Why is it a problem for the one?
We're going to have to get into all these details. I'll show you. We'll get into all this later. Yeah. So if it's mivushal, we have to. No, the wine. All the wine rooms. I'm a member in the Herzog Winery, and I go to the wine tastings. They're always mivushal, always. But they do have the person pouring it. And so, like I said, some people hold that when we say it's allowed to drink. When others say it's allowed to sell. And then we have Ezra's thing. Does this apply to atheists, Arabs, Christians?
You know,
what type of goy?
We're a little different, but we were all of our professors here with Aaron. She said I can't touch it. Yeah.
Really? So we're going to talk exactly about this maybe next week. And so what I'll do is let's go pray in the halakha. I'll read the Manash Haruch verdict for this one, and then we'll continue next week with more of this stuff. But we have minyan, Ken. Rabbi Hanan Gasham Mele Sagas Berkul Zechot Etistel Bicha Kadbalan Thomas Moshe Neymar Adon Hafez Lamar Zakor Yagdil Torah Meyadid. Someone say Kaddish. It's good for the